Welcome to Common Sense and Consequences, where we sit down with Montanans from every walk of life to talk honestly about what's happening in our communities, at our capital, and in our daily lives.
I'm so glad we're here, Nelly, getting to talk about something that we're both passionate about, parents' rights in this state. And you would think, us being a red state, that this would be something that's smooth, that as we attack these issues, we wouldn't come up against any brick walls, but it doesn't seem to be that way in Montana.
It isn't.
At all. And I passed a bill in 23 that stated that parents have the right to direct their kids' education, religious, and medical upbringing.
Right.
And then this session, you tried to strengthen that, because what we were seeing is that hospitals especially, well, we saw that in records with schools, libraries, hospitals, they were not allowing parents to get access to their kids' records.
Correct.
If they're between the ages of 12 and 17. And that's scary.
It's really scary.
Right?
Yeah. I watched when you passed that bill in 23, and I was like, awesome, go Kerri. And then I watched through the interim thinking I was going to see something change, and nothing was changing. It was shocking. And all the way up until the last session, it was just like, no change, what is happening? And so then I thought, okay, it is absolutely necessary for me to be more specific on the medical bills, on the medical records, and make sure that as a parent, we can access our children's medical records. It seems like a no-brainer, but apparently the hospitals aren't getting it. And I don't understand why fully.
And when we talk to the hospitals, they say, well, of course we want parents to have the rights to their kids' medical records. All the kid has to do is sign a proxy. And if it was all they had to do was sign a proxy, that would be one thing. But we also know that there's a lot of issues out there, or there's a lot of circumstances where both parents may not be together. And then so you'd have to have both parents have access to that. But we know that there can be conditions. One parent puts on a child and another parent will not have access to those records. And so it is scary, because I think that our hospitals all around the state were purposefully ignoring that law. And then when the Supreme Court decided that a 12-year-old can get an abortion without parental consent, I think that emboldened them as well, that, hey, we do not have to follow the law. And so I really admire you for kind of taking that on to try to strengthen that this session. But once again, who came up against you? Who were the big opponents against this?
Oh, the hospitals, of course. I mean, Montana Hospital Association was just coordinating the whole entire lobbying effort. So, yeah, of course, they had a lot of power and money and time and coordination into making sure that bill died. And since the session, since that bill didn't pass, they've doubled down. It's
Have they?
Unbelievable. Yes.
You have kids in the system, so I'm not as familiar with that right now. So how have they doubled down?
So I have 3 teenagers, and when I got back from session, I started taking them in for, wellness checks and what have you, because I was gone for 5 months, and found out that I couldn't even get my blood work and urine results from my daughter because they automatically now, instead of before, they were asking the children in front of the parents constantly, do you want to sign up for this little portal so you can be private from your parents? And do you want to do this? Do you want to do that? Now they don't even ask. They automatically, from age 12, now the parents don't get the records. And they don't even tell the kid or the parent that that's happening. We weren't even notified. Nothing. So in order to get those records, and I still don't have them, but in order to get the information from her tests, which were fine, thank God, I had to get the doctor on the phone, on speakerphone, talk with my daughter, my teenage daughter, and have her okay it with him to give the results of those lab tests to me.
And I'm sure your kids never are spicy or irritated with you or anything like that. It's like, no, I'm not giving that to my mom. I mean, my kids probably inherited a little bit too much of my personality, and on a certain day would have been like, heck no, she can't have access to my records, or, because you might find things like they are, participating in behavior that's actually damaging to them, and you have no right at that point to help direct them, to be a part of their lives, to be that person who actually helps walk them through those things that are difficult, or if they are diagnosed with diabetes or diagnosed with something else that's significant in their lives, that they have no idea how to go through those things. I mean, I am, 39 plus, maybe another 39 at this point in my life, and I still call my mom to ask her opinion about things that are going on in my life health-wise, because I trust her opinion, and I know that I don't have all the information to do that myself. Can you imagine our 12-year-olds going through that? Oh. And the assumption that we see in education, the assumption we see in the medical world is automatically, that first underlying assumption is parents are bad. Parents are the problem. And it starts with cartoons, it starts in books, it starts in teachers saying don't trust your parent, and counselors saying don't trust your parent, and now doctors, the ones we are supposed to trust as parents to help guide us through what would look like medical treatment for our kids, don't trust your parents. That is so sad, isn't it?
It is extremely sad. And to go back to what you were saying about teenagers not always being totally cooperative with their parents. I mean, I'm blessed. My kids are extremely good. However, I was a teenager and I maybe wasn't all the time. And so I do know that at any point in time, especially if something big is going on with my child that they want to start cutting me out and hiding from me because they're doing something that they know I'm not going to approve of, that's exactly when they need me. That's exactly when, as a parent, you're just constantly searching. It feels like as a parent, you're just constantly searching for clues, like what's going on in their world, who are their friends, what are they doing, how are they, and only so that you can help them and support them in whatever they're doing and let them learn and grow from all these different mistakes and experiences that they make. And it's really disheartening to think that especially something as important as medical healthcare is going to you're just going to be blind to it as a parent. I mean, right when they really need you, and especially surrounding mental health, especially surrounding rape, especially surrounding pregnancy.
Drug use.
Mm-hmm. Drug use is a huge one too. So if my child is addicted to drugs, they can easily hide that. They will actually be protected by the hospital from giving any kind of information or clue to me that that's happening. So I can have a drug-addicted child in my home. That child could be 13 years old, addicted to drugs, go out and commit a crime, and here I am responsible for whatever they did as a 13-year-old, but I can't know why they did it, like any of the factors that may have led into why they did something horrible.
And think of the mental health issues as well. Oh, yeah. And the time that we need to be supporting parents, the time that we need to be supporting families, the time when parents need more information and not less is when doctors are saying, our government's saying, our education is saying, oh, here, we got this. You don't, right. But really, who loves them most? It's not the doctors. It's not the school system, although they said we love your kiddos. No, it's not the school system, and it's not our government. It's us as parents, and that's what I would love for us to do, is to figure out how we can start supporting parents, because I think that that's the best step we have towards mental health issues that we're dealing with our children.
Absolutely.
That's the best step towards helping kids so that they aren't engaging in behaviors that are very, very destructive as they grow older. But we also know, I think you and I know, why our hospitals are engaging in this. I mean, if you can create a lifelong patient, through encouraging our kids to transition or have an abortion or get an immunization that maybe you're hesitant to do, or one of those things. And I'm not saying every parent is like that, but it takes away all of our decision-making opportunities at that point, right?
Freedom and choice, and there's none of it anymore. So.
Exactly. Yep. And so that's what's creating, I think, chaos in our families, chaos in our communities. We talk about crime, we talk about mental health, we talk about how our kids aren't doing well in education situations and settings, and all of this supports, that misdirection of what we should be supporting is our families. We should be supporting our parents understanding how to parent better instead of always being known as the bad guy. Oh, they won't agree with this kind of behavior. Well, of course not, because it's damaging. If our children are doing drugs, if they're engaging in very risky sexual behavior, if they're thinking of transitioning and they're 12 years old or 8 or 7 or whatever that age is, and we're dealing with underlying mental health issues and that's never been addressed, and you're asking our children to make lifelong decisions that would maim their bodies permanently, and parents have no say in that, that's where it's dangerous.
Oh, you can't even get a tattoo till you're 16.
Or tan.
I know. And so here we're letting them do these other things that, can't be laser removed later or whatever. And it is mind-boggling to me. And, you being the expert in education and freedom of parent choice and parental rights, I mean, I guess I feel like we're a really great team as far as getting to people and letting them understand how to actually deal with the process if this happens to you. Now it's when and if you'd actually like your medical records. Before it was, if you can't get your children's medical records, then this is what we need to do. Now it's you don't get your kids' medical records. And now this is what we need to do. So
our schools are hiding the records too as well. I mean,
Yes.
for counseling, we're seeing where the school will recommend a child to a county counselor, and therefore they don't have then the onus on them to bring the parents in. That's how they're getting around that. And so a kid could be going through counseling through a county counselor that would be exact opposite of the parents' direction and them having no idea of what's happening in their child's life. And that's very dangerous as well. And so I think that it's important that we start asking parents for help, that we
Yeah.
start asking parents to help us in this journey as we're going through trying to give the rights of medical education and religious upbringing back to the parents in this state. Because I don't think we even realize it sometimes, because we're told, oh, the government's got your back. The schools have got your back. The doctors and the medical associations have got your back. But really, what they need to do is have parents' backs. They need
Yes.
to be there to help guide us through as we're dealing with, a chronic disease that our child could be dealing with, mental health issues that they could be dealing with, stuff that we may be dealing with as adults too. It's very important because I do love my children best. I'm supposed to love them best. And they're usually at their worst with me, because I've heard from many people, oh, they're so great. I'm like, what, do you have the right kid? But they are great, but I do love them best, even when I'm
Right.
at my worst, even when they're at their worst.
I think that whole division of family has been just a big overarching key here. I think any time that you're hearing that let the school handle this, it'll be easier. It'll save you a bunch of time, or they've got this. They love your children. They can care for them. And you're thinking, you have that little thought in your head, that little pause. Take note of it, because those are the times when that little wedge is created and government and systems move in. And we don't want that. We want our families together, and then everything surrounding that, supporting the family, and through education, healthcare, what have you. We really do have to strengthen that family unit, and I feel like the schools have done a really great job of kind of edging out parents. I know that there are teachers that absolutely love their children, and they're so great. So it's hard because we're making these system blanket statements, but we also realize that there's teachers and administrators that would like nothing more than to love on these kiddos and make sure that they are well cared for and have their best life, prepared for their best life. And so in no way, shape, or form are we trying to down talk any of them, but just the overall system, the way it's set up now, it divides families, and it divides parents out of schools, it divides parents out of healthcare. And I know that I saw that with my children having a big gap in between kids. I was blessed to have my oldest child go to the same grade school as my younger three. And I got to witness the changes, not only from when I went to grade school there, but when the other groups went there. And so from 10 years, my first child, I'm in there every Wednesday for Messy Project Day. I'm helping out with the advanced kids and doing different programs. And then you get to the next group of kids, and it was like begging to be able to go in at a specific time, a one-off time of the year, to witness a lunch of chaos. And so it was kind of like, I could have sat, my first child, I could have sat in on any math class. I could have just kind of sat in the back of the room and audited and saw what they were learning and figured out maybe what she was having, if she was having any issues with anything, or I could supplement her education at home or see what the teacher needed help with. I mean, parents can help the teachers. And then to go to the next three and just be completely cut out and have 15 different apps to follow and all the emails and it was just a crazy different kind of chaos. The teachers are going through a lot right now, and my heart goes out to them. And I think when we support the families and we have strong family units, it makes life easier for the teachers, and stronger family units can turn around and support teachers and education for our children, which is what it's all about.
Absolutely. And I think that the intention is chaos, right? I mean, because they don't want you opting your children out of these programs. They don't want you to have any interest. I mean, I remember helping my son with math. Now, that's been 10 years ago, but he was not catching it. And I teach math. And so I was like, oh, well, if you just do it this way, which his brain could get it. At that point, it was algebra. I simplified it for him instead of making him do every single step. And he's like, oh, that makes sense. But I was scolded by the teacher saying, no, you can't do it that way. And I'm like, why not? Why can't we help him learn in his style of learning at this point? And I, of course, may have mentioned something like, well, no wonder so many kids are dropping out at this point. may or may not have said something like that. Maybe I need to be a little bit more understanding. But at the same time, my son needed to learn math. He needed to pass math, and he needed to, realize that I want him to still respect his teachers and to learn from them. But at the same time, I think it's necessary for us to understand how our children learn and why it's so important. But that's what we need from parents at this point, you and I. We're asking for parents to help us out in a couple ways. One, pay attention. Pay attention to those emails that come in. I know that they come through and you get so many a day. I mean, I have 5 different email addresses and I get probably 30 a day from each one of them. But pay attention when it comes through your school. Pay attention when there's an opt-out or an opt-in. Most of them now are opt-outs because our unions don't like opt-ins because then you don't have to pay as much attention. You can just say, oh, I don't want my kid to do that. Well, they have said that parents who don't opt in are bad parents. We heard that this session, right? Oh, if you don't opt in, then you're just a bad parent. Well, instead of thinking, I don't want my kid to participate in that, and I don't think it's necessary. I mean, as math scores are still down, reading scores are down, why aren't we focusing on those issues? But we need parents to pay attention. We also need parents to pay attention when they go in to a doctor's office and even, maybe send you or I a copy of what they're asking you to fill out. I was heard from one parent who said, yeah, my teenage boy went in last week and they asked him right there with me there, do you prefer boys or girls? Sexually.
Right.
Right? I mean, those are things that as a 16-year-old boy sitting there, it was just a regular checkup. He had gone in for his annual checkup. That parents need to let us know what are the kinds of questions, and you and I are going to be asking the hospitals this too.
Right.
What are the forms that you're making people fill out? When I went in and they will ask often, well, have you been traveling? I'm like, I'm just coming in, for asthma medicine and my yearly checkup. You don't need to know whether I've been traveling. Or the mental health side of it on the back. I'm not filling that out. Do you feel safe at home? I'm not filling that out either. Those are the kinds of things, right? Kids, when they get them separated, do your parents have guns at home? Do you feel safe at home? those kinds of things. If a child is not safe, there are indicators. But the underlying assumption is that parents are the enemy. Parents are bad. And with that as your underlying assumption, I mean, I've talked to some of the hospital administrators, and I say that, and like, well, we don't really say that, but there are some parents. Yes, there are some parents. Let's focus on that instead of every parent being a bad parent, because you're not allowing parents then to be good parents when you do that.
And looking for those leading questions.
Yes.
That are, if they become common with our children, they start thinking, wait, why is everybody asking me this? This must be a thing I should be paying attention to and looking for. And if a kid looks for something hard enough, they're going to figure it out and find it. I mean, but if you're bebopping through life, enjoying life and being a free kiddo and just doing school and, how bummer I have to do my chores and homework, that should be what your kid's worried about. They shouldn't be worried about all of this other stuff. And to place that on children, to me, is just absolutely wrong.
They're being told that they shouldn't trust their parents at that point.
Yep.
They're being told that those indicators that kind of would, be, this is a safe space, this isn't a safe space. You're supposed to trust your doctor, but at the same time, then I think that some of these doctors are leading our kids down in a direction that's taking them away from trusting their parents. And that's very dangerous in what we've got going on. So parents, if you are, it's seeing some of these things, send that to myself and to Nelly.
Yep.
Let us see that as well. Some of these forms that you're asked to fill out, or your kids are asked to fill out, both in school, anything through the government, anything through the medical establishment, take a picture of that, not filled out, but just a blank one, and send that to us as well.
Right.
So that we can start to see, because we've heard from the hospitals, we're not asking them anything. And it's not us, it's the other hospital. But then parents are talking to us and calling us and saying, you're not going to believe what we've been asked to fill out. You're not going to believe what our kids are being asked. Our kids are being separated from us as well, so that they can be asked these questions. And I think that if there's anything that you're concerned about, just realize you are the parent. You have that right to be parent. Now, when they turn 18, that's something that's different. But we're talking about from, 12 to 17 or even younger. If you're seeing these kinds of things, let us know so that we can figure out how best to help you as parents as we go forward in this, between now and the next session, and then during the next session with legislation.
Correct.
So-
I mean, think about it this way. You have the right to pay for any property that they might damage. You have the right to get into trouble for anything that they might do. You have the right to pay their medical bill. You have the right to pay their medical insurance, but you can't see what you're paying for.
Or even their education too.
Oh, yeah, and their education too. Like I said before, it's mind-boggling. But if we can get more of a dialogue between you parents and us, it's going to be extremely helpful, because we can help you. We can give you tips how to navigate to get to information that you need, and we can also help by getting the information that you can feed to us. Then we can help use that information then to try to legislatively fix these issues. And
we were told, in fact, by one person in the hospital administration, this is not a big issue. Parents really aren't concerned about this. I think it's time, parents, that you start letting them know that you are concerned about it. Because I'm not saying that hospital administration, they are bad, but I don't think that they understand what a big issue this really is. And I think it's important for us to go forward in this direction.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. And I also feel like my kids approached me and said, hey, Mom, do you remember when you talked to us about strangers? You talked to us about how if a grown-up might be going to hurt us somehow, they might be somebody we trust, somebody we know, somebody in a leadership position. They might be somebody that's going to then, pull us off to the side, somebody that's going to kind of start getting our life and our information and helping with our
Pulling
big
you away from your parents.
our big decisions.
Yeah.
Yes, away from the parents, away from that family group. And I was like, yeah, I guess I did tell you that. And one of my kiddos, who was 12 at the time, says to me, Mom, that's exactly what you told us when you were explaining to us what pedophiles do. And I said, oh, whoa. I couldn't even believe it. It was during this last session. I thought, oh my gosh, that's mind-blowing, because never in my mind would I have ever thought something like that. And I'm not saying that that's what's happening by any means, but I am saying the behavior is the same. And if we're trying to teach our kids literally how to avoid pedophiles, or we're trying to teach them how to avoid being human trafficked,
Or bad decision making.
bad decision making, all the people that are gonna try to contact them on the internet through all these different apps. And so here we're trying to educate our children with this
And protect them and love them.
And then we're supposed to say, but except for this one's, this one's okay, or this one's okay. No, it doesn't matter.
shouldn't be
It doesn't
okay.
matter if it's at church. It doesn't matter if it's at school. It doesn't matter if it's with the doctor. If your kid isn't comfortable with something, if you continually are seeing your kid pulled off and separated from you, and that information made gray or completely behind an iron wall, red flag. Stand up, parents. I mean, we really have to get after it. We have to.
And parents can say no. They can say no to the
Yes.
doctor. The doctors don't want you to think that you can. But honestly, I've said no to my doctor, and she's like, great, that's fine. I agree with you. That's fine. You don't have to fill that out. We're just told, by administration, we have to ask these questions. And I'm like crossing it off and going, I'm not answering that today. And she's
Yeah.
like, I get it. I totally get it. So I think that once again, we do have a law in the books that says that parents have the right to direct their kids' education, religious, and medical upbringing.
Yes. Thank you for that, by the way.
Well, I mean, I was concerned because I saw that parents couldn't get their kids' medical records. I saw that a parent called me and he's like, Kerri, I just got a phone call from the school saying that my child has an overdue library book and they can't graduate if they don't get this book in. And I said, what book is it? And they said, we can't tell you. He was like, oh my gosh, we can't tell you what book it is. He said, that's ridiculous. They have a right to privacy. And I know, right? But we know that we do have a right to privacy, but also we know that things a lot of times that are done in privacy also can be very damaging. I mean, there's a reason why they're private. And so it was very, very interesting, and then the school system, when we said, well, why can't parents get access to it? Well, it was very interesting because when they were talking about in our school district, in school district 2, they were talking about taking some books away that were very pornographic, and our school board said, well, no, we don't want to do that because we want parents to be more involved. But yet they said, but parents have no right to be involved because of the right to privacy. I mean, just this insane decision making on our school board by our trustees. So I think it's really important, though, that we tell parents, you do have some power, and we want to help give you power, so please help us.
Yes, exactly.
So-
Yeah. And I do want to add one more thing really quickly. Some of the stories that I have heard from when I ran this bill last session are heartbreaking, absolutely heartbreaking. So, stories where the parents can't get the medical records, they have no idea that their child is wrapped up in drugs and all of these things. They're sneaking out the door at night and they don't know because kids are clever. They're waiting until the parents go to bed. They're sneaking out. And there was actually a Billings child that passed away a year and a half ago, 2 years ago now. And horrifying stories, heartbreak. It just leaves just heartbreak and pieces all over the community.
And where's the medical establishment? Where's the schools? Where's the government to pick up those pieces when they're
Right.
shattered?
Right.
They're not there. And I'm not saying that they should be there, but I'm just saying that they shouldn't be shattered in the first place. And those are the entities that we see are taking the hammer and, the sledgehammer and saying, okay, we're going to break apart our families. And that's what you and I want to do, is say, where are the resources? How can we help families instead of dividing parents from their kids? Well, thanks
You're
for this
right.
conversation,
Yep,
Nelly.
and Kerri's absolutely right. So please send us information, send us emails, call us. We want to know everything and anything that we possibly can. So
Yes, we're going to be going forward with some more forward movement this summer and between now and the next session.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
All right.